Good morning and welcome to a very wet and windy budget model railways this morning. And today we're talking about something we've not spoken about much in the 10 years we've done model railways, which is ballasting, which is a bit odd because of course everybody else ballasts like mad, but we don't. We've always used ballast mat. But I'm tinkering with doing ballasting, and so I thought it might be something that people are interested in because obviously I'm doing it on a relatively simple budget format. And also was going to have a little bit of a natter about styles and different techniques. So worth staying with us for this one. This is very much a beginner's guide. If you're a ballasting aficionado, please go and find one of the channels that does it down to the last lump of ballast. But this is for people who perhaps, like me, this is the first time they're looking at it. So what I'm going to do first is just do a little bit of ballasting. And then I'll talk a little bit about different styles and things like that. So relatively simple. This is just tacked straight onto a board. Normally, you could put it on cork, which is what people do. I'm not sure about the sound insulating properties because at the end of the day, the ballast then goes hard anyway. But it does give you quite a nice shoulder, and I've just done that on another layout. But in this particular case, this was flexi-track. I wanted to lay it to see if it would work. It's straight on the board. And actually in N, it doesn't give you a bad little shoulder. But the techniques are the same. Now, what I would say at the very beginning is there's lots of people going to be screaming at the screen already. There's lots of different ways of ballasting. This is simply the way I've found. For me, it seems to work quite well. So I've got a very fine ballast here for N gauge. I'm putting it on with a teaspoon. Now this will be part one. This is going to be putting the dry ballast down. And then I'll do another video when I actually do all the glue and everything. And all I'm doing is using a soft brush to brush it off the sleepers. And this is where in a minute I'll have to talk about tastes as far as style and everything is concerned. We want to do the sides as well. I'm going to have to put my glasses on, which is not really a shock. Knowing where I put my glasses, of course, is always good. Here we go. So I'm going to simply brush it along. Now I prefer to do the middle first. I don't like it too heavy, so I like my sleepers to show. Now if you're one of these people that want to weather your sleepers and that sort of thing, you're going to have to paint them or spray them is the normal way, brown and all the track at the same time. But at this stage I'm just using the plastic. Now what I tend to do is use my finger to push it in, brush it off like that. I don't know if I put my hand in the way there when I was filming. And then I don't like too much of a ridge, so I'm basically tamping it as I go along, tidying it up, putting a bit of a shoulder, flattening it like that, and we end up then with quite a nice little, I'm just going to have a go at something here. Look at that, zoom works. Right, let's try that again then on the zoom. You'll be able to see a little bit clearer. There we go. So we'll do a little bit more here. So I'm putting it on fairly generously, like this, and then getting my brush and I'm brushing it off the sleepers like that, so that we can see the sleepers through. Now this is when I suppose I find it difficult to work and talk, but I'll do my best. So this is when we come, I suppose, to tastes in style. I've seen everything at exhibitions, from very neat ballast sleepers showing to track almost obliterated by ballast, which personally for me I don't like the look of. However, a quick perusal of real railways, and I say that because looking at model railways is not always the best way of seeing what things actually look like, because you tend to get a very idealised view sometimes. And the reality is you get all sorts. You get ballast that is almost non-existent, where the sleepers are almost bouncing around on nothing, and you get ballast where the track is basically covered, and it seems to differ from railway to railway, location to location, and I guess a lot of it was on what maintenance had been done, and various companies had different views on it. Certainly when you're looking at some of the light railways, then almost anything can go, from almost no ballast to, as I say, completely overgrown. There's also a question then of colour. I happen to be using this beige because I'm doing a freelance railway, and I don't care, and I got it cheap somewhere. I can't even remember where I got it cheap. So being me, that's why it gets used. Again, if it's that sort of thing and you're really anal about it and you want it to be exactly right, you're going to have to look at what the railway you're modelling did, and you're going to have to look at that location. I don't go in for all that sort of railway modelling, as the regulars will know. So I would tend to say, do whatever you're happy with. Ballast tends to be, at least in the UK, in a lot of places, grey when it's new. Like everything else on the railway, it goes brown after a while. And again, I've seen everything from spanking new ballast that I actually like. And there were times when railway did look like that, to where everything is just brown. And I've even seen one guy who basically ballasted all his track and then sprays it all brown. Track, sleepers, the whole works. And if that's right for your railway, that's not a problem. Now, I have seen people talk about using masking tape. I can't get my lenses right. Masking tape on the edges to give a neat shoulder. But I'm quite happy to do it that way. And I think you can see from the photographs there that that's coming along quite well. Now, one of the reasons I don't ballast is I have a very short attention span. I'm currently working on 3 layouts so that I can do whatever I feel like at the time. And ballasting is not a quick process. And it's one of the reasons that I'm beginning to look at ballasting. I need to develop some patience. I need to develop the ability to accept that some jobs are not going to be done quickly and some projects are long term. And so looking at the concept of ballasting is actually quite good for me. It's developing my skills, and all hobbies to some degree should develop us, I guess, as individuals. And I need to learn to slow down a bit, take my time, and actually enjoy doing a process. I like knocking things out quickly, but I think it's about time I also learn to quietly do projects that would take a little longer. So there you go. I think you can see the idea of that. I'm not unhappy with that. You can sit there and tart with it to your heart's content. And that brings us then to points, which is one of the main reasons I haven't, just moving my tripod, I haven't ballasted track. Because when I've done it in the past, it's very difficult to get the points clear. Now what I've taken to doing is masking the moving parts. When I use grey ballast, I paint underneath here dark grey. And then what I find is you really don't need to ballast in here. But I'll show you this in a couple of videos' time when we've done the glue and everything else. This, I haven't had that option, so I may well have to try ballasting in here, which will be a good exercise. But certainly cover all your points, and cover them all the time you're doing glue, all the time the glue's drying, all the time that you're cleaning the track. One of the mistakes people make is cover their points, and then when they clear the track, they uncover them. Well, all the crap that you get off, all the ballast, is going to end up in the blades of the points. So that needs to stay there until we've finished. But what I will be able to do is get in and do quite a lot of the point with ballast like this. Try really hard to get it out the frogs, but you are going to have to clean that all anyway when you've finished. That's just one of the things with ballasting. So there we go. I am not going to profess to be an expert on ballasting. There are people who have dedicated an entire lifetime of model railways and have very strong views on it. This is merely a beginner's guide to ballasting. This will get you started. There we go. As always with me, I'd say if you're not too fussed, have a look around, see what ballast you can get cheap, go with that. Especially if you're like me, you're doing freelance railways. But this seems to work quite well, and this is just getting the dry ballast down. And then as I say, what I'll do is when I do all the glue and everything, I'll do another video on that. So there we go. It's a video that I didn't think we would necessarily ever be making, but it's important, I guess, to try new skills with model railways. And as ballasting is one of the basic skills, according to everybody else, I feel a bit like the old Blackadder line, if anybody knows it, from the Elizabethan Blackadder. One of the perts where he's playing a sea captain, and the sea captain, Blackadder asks him if he's got a crew, and he says, no, I don't have a crew. And he says, why not? And the sea captain says, well, there's two schools of thought. Everyone else says you need a crew, I say you don't. And that's very true of a lot of me of life, I'm afraid. I'm a bit rebellious. So everyone else says you need to ballast, and I say you don't. But here I am, having a go at ballasting, for those like myself that think it's about time I had a little go at it. There we go. Be interested to know your views. Let's see if we can move that back out a bit. We're having a go, and I'll do an update when I do the glue and whatever, which hopefully people will enjoy as well.